Hi, Sachsenhausen. Polonia gwarna, parna, Germania richtig dicker Heil. Sachsenhausen. Wirtycie jak bambusik, trupie łebki to kaktusy heil. Es lebe kule der Kampf.
Welcome to Descendant Stuff, a podcast by and for the descendants of Sachsenhausen prisoners, working together to uncover the unanswered questions of its history. Sachsenhausen was a Nazi concentration camp located in Oranienburg, Germany, used from 1936 through April 1945. It was used as a labor camp, with a network of subcamps and worksites around the region, as well as a prison camp, death camp, medical experimentation center, and SS training ground. It was also the administrative center for all Nazi concentration camps. We are Jakob, Kelsey, and Nicole, three descendants of Sachsenhausen prisoners. Though our relatives were imprisoned for different reasons, we've discovered we have much in common. In each episode, we interview other descendants, researchers, and even survivors, sharing stories, memories, and research to build a clearer picture of the past, one that goes beyond the records. Through these conversations, we honor those who suffered and died at Sachsenhausen and strengthen our collective understanding of our own ancestors' experiences. This episode was recorded during the commemoration for the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Sachsenhausen in our podcast studio in Tower A, with special assistance from the Sachsenhausen Memorial and Museum. René Trauffler, born in Luxembourg in 1921, was imprisoned in Sachsenhausen from 1942 until the Death March, which he documented from April 22nd to May 9th, 1945 in his diary. Kelsey had a chance to speak with his daughter, José Trauffler, while traveling on a bus en route to the 80th commemoration of the Death March.
My father's name is René Trauffler, and I'm his daughter, José Trauffler, and he was a detained in Sachsenhausen. But before he came to Sachsenhausen, he was detained in Buchenwald. And he quit Luxembourg at 19 years. And at 24, he came back to Luxembourg. He was in Buchenwald, Sachsenhausen, and Death March. And he came back in June 45. He came back to Luxembourg. The Death March, of course, it was in Bello. That's where he was lying in the woods. And he wrote a diary on the Death March. Started on the 22 of April and finished on the 9th of May, his diary. He practically wrote day by day. And it's a very, very interesting contents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would.
How did he arrive at Sachsenhausen? How did he get, what was maybe the time he started at Sachsenhausen? And then did he have a prisoner number and be in a barrack? Was he there that long?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have his number in my head. It's 47,000 and something. I should look because I can keep numbers in my head. And so he was at September 42, he came to Sachsenhausen. When he left Buchenwald, he didn't listen what they told him, and that's why he came to Buchenwald. And he wrote a letter, and he wanted to show he was a soldier. And he wanted to tell his friends, listen, don't be afraid. We will be liberated one day, and we have to take care of everything, but don't be afraid. We get home again, and that was the reason I came to Buchenwald. And that was Erziehungshäftling, they called this. He was in the Strafkompanie in Buchenwald, so pretty bad. And he told me one more week in Buchenwald, I wouldn't be there anymore. Yeah. And then he came, that was in, I can't remember the dates. I think it was in June or July he came out. And then they took him. He was working somewhere in Weimar. And they took him one day and they put him to Sachsenhausen. Later he thought that it was because in Luxembourg they took all these young people to go. The German took the young men to go to war. Die Zwangsarbeiter, das Reglement de Force. And that was the reason they put him in prison, because there were people in Luxembourg, they said, we don't go to war with the German people. And they took him as taken hostage for the Luxembourgish young man who refused to go to war. And they took him as a hostage, right? Yes. He was to the end in Sachsenhausen. He went to an annex camp in Glau. He was a long time in Glau. And he had problems in Glau with one SS man. And there was a Luxembourger who later was a minister. And he realized that this SS man wanted to kill my father because my father was pretty intelligent and he never talked. He was always quiet, and the other SS people got mad about this because my father never talked. And then he wanted to kill him. And this other Luxembourger saw that there will be a problem, and he put him back to the main camp. And then he worked in the Revier, in the Krankenrevier. To the end of when they had to go to the DS016, he was helping in the Lazarett, or how you call this, Krankenrevier in Sachsenhausen.
Yeah.
He especially worked with the other prisoner who were doctor, like this French Dr. Couder, who is very known in Sachsenhausen. He worked together with these doctors, not with the SS. So he was especially with other attendants, the attendants who were doctor. And of course, there was never a positive experience, but they worked very good together. They keep together. And after the war, I found a lot of letters from these doctors who wrote to my father, and he wrote them back. And he was in the doctor process after the war, even SS in the end. That's what he wrote in the diary, that they even helped SS people when there was a bomb going down in Sachsenhausen in the end. And yeah, I haven't realized this, but I wrote this in the diary, in his diary. I saw this in the diary. There's even a little part from his diary we can find in the exposition there in Bello. Yeah, I'm in the international committee and I'm coming here every year. And the first time I came here, it was very hard. I realized that my father was there. Now it's because I'm working about 30 years that I go with students. I come to Sachsenhausen, and practically every year I go to Bello. And the first time I went there, it was very hard. And I realized, hey, your father really was here. And then I saw this part of his diary written in the exposition. And that was really hard. And today it's easier for me to go there, of course. Otherwise, you never could work in this history if you always start crying, and it would be too hard. No, for me, everything is worked and my head is clear. I never suffer. I suffer when I realize what happened all over with Sachsenhausen or other concentration camp. Just too much. But my story, it's digested because my father was a great person and he gave me a lot of strongness in my life. And I think it's very important to go to these places and to realize that it really happened. It's like living history on the place. And I think for young people, it's very important to see this and to go there. And that was my target when I started this work, to come here or to Sachsenhausen or Klinker with young people. And every year I come with a lot of young people, of Luxembourgish people. We came, the 2nd of February was 80 years that 19 Luxembourgers got killed. And we had this year, on the 2nd of February, a big celebration in Sachsenhausen with hundreds of Luxembourgers, with 50 students. And tomorrow there will always be about 40 Luxembourg students coming on Sunday. And for me, that's so important. That was one of the reasons to do this work for me. Of course, a lot of people and a lot of prisoners, friends of my father, because the Luxembourgish people were pretty important in the concentration camp because they spoke German, French, English. Okay, our mother tongue is Luxembourgish, and it was very important that they keep together and they helped with the language. They translated, especially the French people. They were very lucky to have the Luxembourgish people around. Yeah, and so I met a lot of the attendants and the family, and yeah, sure. When I started to get interested in the history, he died. And what I know is what he wrote down. And of course, today I know all this, but he never told us something negative. He never told us children, if you would like to know what it means, nothing, not to have anything to eat. Never he told us something like this. Never. And no, he gave us what I told you, a lot of strengths in our life. But he never told us negative things. They meet at home. A lot of the friends, they meet together from the prisoner, and then they were telling story about the concentration camp. And I was sitting there. I was a kid, and I said, "Hey, that was funny there. Why everybody said that it was so bad?" Because they were laughing and they were telling stories, what they have done, what was not allowed, and I made it, and so it was nothing negative for me. Yeah, I think that's a good point from my father, not to make us suffering what he already made.
Heil Sachsenhausen. A jak będę jutro wzdychał lewą nóżką, ci zawtikam. Heil, es lebe Kulturkampf.